On June 18, 1815, near the small village of Waterloo in present-day Belgium, Napoleon Bonaparte faced the greatest defeat of his life. This single battle ended his rule as Emperor of France over 20 years of near-constant war in Europe. Any realistic hope of restoring his empire Waterloo was not lost because of one mistake. It was the result of bad weather, poor coordination, unreliable subordinates, strong enemies, and Napoleon's own declining judgment. To truly understand why Napoleon lost, we must examine the political situation before the battle, Napoleon's strategy, and early successes. The critical mistakes on the battlefield, the role of Wellington and Blucher, the final collapse of the French army. In 1814, Napoleon was defeated and exiled to Elba, a small Mediterranean island. Europe believed the Napoleonic era was over. But in March 1815, Napoleon escaped Elba and returned to France. In an almost unbelievable political reversal, soldiers sent to arrest him joined him instead. King Louis XVIII fled. Napoleon reclaimed power for a period known as the 100 Days, Europe's reaction. The great powers Britain, Prussia, Austria, and Russia immediately formed the Seventh Coalition. Their goal was clear. Napoleon must be defeated permanently. Napoleon knew time was against him. He decided to strike before the coalition armies fully united. The strategic idea, Napoleon's strategy, was actually brilliant in theory. Defeat the British army under the Duke of Wellington. Defeat the Prussian army under Marshal Blucher. Do so separately, before they could combine. If successful, Napoleon might have forced Britain to negotiate and regained his political footing. Early success. On June 16, 1815, Napoleon fought the Prussians at Ligny, gives French victory. Wellington at Quatre-Bras is indecisive, but Wellington withdrew at this point. Napoleon was winning. But here is where things began to unravel. The decision to split the army after Ligny. Napoleon ordered Marshal Grouchy to pursue the retreating Prussians with 33,000 men. Napoleon believed the Prussians were badly beaten. They were retreating east, away from Wellington. This assumption was wrong. Grouchy's failure. Blucher did not retreat east. He moved north toward Wellington, planning to rejoin the British army. Grouchy followed orders too rigidly, ignored the sound of artillery at Waterloo, failed to adapt to changing circumstances. Even when his generals begged him to march toward the battlefield, Grouchy refused. Result: Napoleon faced Wellington alone, while the Prussians marched toward him. The night before the battle, on June 17th, heavy rain soaked the battlefield. The ground became thick mud, difficult for infantry to move, devastating for artillery effectiveness. Napoleon decided to delay the attack until late morning on June 18th. Why this was fatal? The delay gave Wellington time to strengthen his defensive positions, the Prussians crucial hours to march toward Waterloo. Had Napoleon attacked earlier, the Prussians might not have arrived in time. The terrain advantage: Wellington chose his ground perfectly. He positioned his army behind a ridge. French artillery could not see their targets clearly. British troops were protected from bombardment. Key defensive points included Hougoumont Farm, La Haye-Saint, Papelotte. These strong points tied down thousands of French soldiers all day. Reverse slope defense. Wellington's tactic of hiding troops behind the ridge reduced casualties, neutralized Napoleon's artillery advantage. Napoleon was used to crushing enemies with artillery. At Waterloo, it simply did not work. Durland's failed infantry assault around midday. Napoleon launched a massive infantry attack. Problems: poor coordination, attacks in deep columns instead of flexible lines. British infantry repelled them with disciplined musket volleys. The attack collapsed. Ney's cavalry charges. Marshal Michel Ney, believing the British were retreating, ordered mass cavalry charges. This was one of the most disastrous decisions of the battle. Cavalry attacked without infantry or artillery support. British troops formed square formations. French cavalry rode into walls of musket fire. Charge after charge failed. Thousands of elite French cavalrymen were lost for nothing. Blücher keeps his promise. By late afternoon, Prussian troops began arriving on Napoleon's right flank. This was the moment Napoleon feared most. Instead of focusing entirely on Wellington, he now had to divert troops to fight the Prussians, stretch his already exhausted army. Two battles at once, Napoleon was now fighting. Wellington in front, Blücher on the flank. The French army could not withstand this pressure. Napoleon's last hope in the evening, Napoleon committed his most feared unit, the Imperial Guard. They had never been defeated before. Their task: break the British center, end the battle before the Prussians overwhelmed the French army. The shock, the Guard advanced, and were met by hidden British infantry, point-blank musket fire. For the first time in history, the Imperial Guard broke and retreated. A cry spread across the battlefield. La Garde recule. The Guard is retreating. French morale collapsed instantly. Once the Guard retreated, the French line disintegrated. Prussians attacked aggressively. Wellington ordered a general advance. What followed was not an orderly retreat, but a rout. Napoleon fled the battlefield. Within weeks, he abdicated again, was exiled to St. Helena, where he would die in 1821. Napoleon lost Waterloo because of multiple compounding factors: overconfidence and flawed assumptions. The failure of Marshal Grouchy, delayed attack due to whether Wellington's defensive brilliance, tactical blunders by Ney, the timely arrival of the Prussians, the collapse of the Imperial Guard. Thank you for watching.